Swimming like a shark in a shrimp tank. Big fish, small pond in the shrimp tank.
Welcome back to another episode of the Shrimp Tank. We come to you virtually from Seattle, the entire Pacific Northwest, and now we're heading over the mountains into Central Washington. You'll learn more about that in just a minute. Listen, if you want to learn how to start, grow, or run a successful business, you're in the right place. This is the podcast for you. It's where we like to say street smarts and book smarts collide. Hello again, everyone. I'm Dan Whedon, and I'm joined by my co-host, Monica Blackwood. Our guest today is Edwin Eaton from iPro Building Services in Wenatchee. Edwin's journey began in the janitorial industry back in 2002 while he was still a college student at the University of Washington. Go Dogs. After graduating, he ventured into hospitality management, but destiny led him back to his hometown of Wenatchee, Washington. In 2005, he partnered with his college roommate's uncle in the janitorial business, eventually paving his own way and founding iPro Building Services in 2013. Fast forward to today, iPro celebrates its 10th anniversary with over 150 employees, and just last month, it earned a spot on the Inc. 5000 list, ranking 2,385th nationally and 35th in Washington State, showcasing an impressive 231% growth over 3 years. We're going to have to talk about that, Edwin. Not one to rest on his own laurels, Edwin also founded Blueprint Janitorial Consulting in 2019, and this year launched Cinch Janitorial Software. Edwin, welcome to the show. We'll be with you in just a minute. You can find us, everybody, wherever you get your podcasts. We're on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, Stitcher, and YouTube. I like to say we are ubiquitous. And now, open for business, our patron membership, the Shrimp Peelers, offering exclusive content to grow your business and enrich your life. You'll find access on our website at shrimptankpodcast.com/Seattle. Now, before we bring on Edwin, Monica, let's catch up a little bit. I don't think I've seen you for, I don't know, maybe a couple weeks here. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. You know, the kids are back in school and I think we're into a rhythm now. So life is looking up. Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned that. In school, your husband is also a coach, so that has a lot more connotations. But my kids are all grown up. In fact, listen to this. I walked my granddaughter to school today. That was a lot of fun. She's kindergarten, so I got a chance to walk her to school today. But I kind of look at the end of summer and the start after Labor Day. I got to clean stuff up, because I've got projects that I had best intentions of doing. I don't know if this sounds at all familiar. I had projects, I got stuff, and I'm going to throw a whole bunch of stuff into stuff that seems to have fallen through different things. I just got a lot of cleaning up to do. Am I the only one? Is that post Labor Day week a bunch of cleanup for Monica as well?
You know what, Dan? You are the only one. There is never anything that I need to pick up in my house of ballers and parkour people and martial arts people. And, just the fact that I have teenagers and a husband and 2 cats to clean up after. So, hey, it's all over the place. But actually, we have spent the last couple weekends we have a vacation cabin down at Benson Lake, just south of Belfair. And so we've been down there kind of cleaning up and getting ready for the winter season, and doing all the weeding and the gardening, but also some maintenance stuff at the house, and getting rid of things that need to go. So yeah, the cleanup, it's ongoing.
So I'm going to tell you, I am not a fan of cleaning up personally myself. That's not fun, but we have an expert today on cleaning up, and it's Edwin Eaton. Edwin, welcome to the show. We've got 3 Washington Huskies here, so I don't know what could be better about that. But I just went through a very impressive resume of you, and I just need to ask as we get started, after welcoming you and saying thanks for being here. How did you make that transition from hospitality, where you went to school on hospitality, and I know you launched something with your roommate's uncle, but How was that transition from hospitality to janitorial?
Yeah, absolutely. First off, thanks, Dan. Thanks, Monica, for having me on. And you guys are talking about cleanup, and I think you guys realize that it's not a glamorous or sexy job at all, but somebody's got to do it, right? So here I am. But yeah, no, transitioning, I was all set to work in the hospitality industry. That's what I was going to school for. That was my goal for my career. And just so happens I took a left-hand turn and down the entrepreneur road. And here I am running my own janitorial company with a little over 150 employees now. So it's been a fun adventure so far.
That's fantastic. I think, you mentioned that it's kind of a left-hand turn, but I kind of think that hospitality and cleanup and janitorial, like they kind of actually go hand in hand. So maybe it's not like a 90 degree left turn, more like a 45 degree turn.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of similarities, right? Cleaning up and then, customer service and things like that. So yeah, maybe I didn't leave the industry completely. It's just a different name for the industry.
Exactly. So I'm curious. So the roommate's uncle was obviously into commercial cleaning. Do you have a specific type of commercial space that you really enjoy, that or your company specializes in, because commercial could mean a whole lot of things?
Sure. Yeah. No. When I got started, I was in college, and my roommate's uncle called and he needed some help at some banks, and so that's how we got started. He said, well, I'll pay you guys beer money. You guys got some beer money for the weekends. And so we said, yeah, sure. I was never the greatest cleaner, but I got my feet wet cleaning banks. And so that was kind of a start. And, when you first get into it, you're going to take on any type of client you can get, from office buildings, insurance companies, dental offices, and things like that. And then over the years, it's just progressed. You guys are in the big Seattle area, and here in central Eastern Washington, there's not a lot of big businesses like there is where you guys are at. And so there's a lot of, we have cheap power here with all the dams. And so what cheap power means, there's a lot of the tech places that are from Seattle coming over this area, Amazon's, Microsoft, Intuit, and they're building data centers here. And so just over the course of the last 10 years, we progressed and found our niche with data centers. And so that's kind of what we specialize in now.
It's interesting when you talk about 150 employees. A lot of our guests you're one of the higher ones with that number, and you really, even though your business as CEO is in the janitorial service, you probably are in the people business. What you do on a day-to-day basis is probably more towards managing 150 people. Talk about that, because you just went from cleaning for beer money, and now you got 150 employees. Talk about that transition for you.
It's crazy. I have a lot of gray hair. I can't really see it in there, but yeah, no, I mean, it's been crazy. I mean, my wife will tell you she wants to make things simple and go back to the days when we had 5 employees where it was easier. But now, people ask me what I do, and I tell them I'm in the janitorial industry, but I explain to them that I'm more in the people and technology industry, because that's what it is first. Your people come first. You have to have the technology for the people, and then we get in and clean. And so anybody that's in the cleaning industry should know how to clean. But like you said, it's everything else that comes along with it. As you start to grow with the employees, you start thinking of different things. Company culture is the big trend right now. How do you get everybody to stay? The janitorial industry is notorious for being high turnover in this industry. And so, my focus now is just creating the company culture and figuring out ways to get people to stay and make it fun to have them come to work. Because like I said before, it's not sexy or glamorous in what we do, but how can we make it fun when these employees come in here, make it fun enough that they want to stay with and work with our company as well, long-term.
So I have another question about your growth, because 150 people in 10 years, that's some decent sized growth. Congrats to you on that.
Thank you.
And, rewinding a little bit, when I was growing up, I spent a lot of time in Eastern Oregon with my aunt and uncle, my cousins in Athena, which is just Walla Walla. I'm so curious about how you grew to have an office in Hermiston, of all places.
Yeah, it's kind of off the beaten path a little bit, but
the
The Tri-Cities is there, it's close, but again, back to the dams, there's a dam that's right in that area there. A lot of data centers are in there. If you drive on, I think it's I-82 there, and if you're going from Hermiston towards the Dalles, you're going to see a lot of big concrete buildings along with agriculture. And you just think that those concrete buildings are maybe cold storages for these orchards. They're data centers, and nobody knows that. And so we've just slowly creeped into these areas. And next thing you know, these data centers are 700,000 to 1,000,000 square feet. I need people to clean these. We started with just one or two of them, and then it progressed to 12 of them. And now just in that Hermiston, Boardman, Umatilla area, we've got about 52 data centers down there. And so, each data center needs a handful of employees. And so we just boomed, and, all of a sudden you go from 5 employees to 50 to 60, and then, 150 plus where we're at now.
And I learned something from you on this, because I would have never thought, you mentioned power is cheap, and these large companies are putting these data centers. I don't know that I knew that, but you have to, because somebody's got to clean their offices. And talk about the demographics, because you're not just in Wenatchee, and a lot of listeners may not have an idea of the area. Where do you have a presence?
It's all over Eastern Washington and Eastern Oregon. And really, with our main headquarters where I'm at now is here in East Wenatchee. But, you get to a certain point as you start to grow. Wenatchee's not a big city by any means. And so once we kind of got a lot of business here, we had somebody who had multiple offices say, hey, I'm in Moses Lake. Can you take on something in Moses Lake? I don't have anybody there, but I said, sure, we can take care of that for you. Go out there and look at that, pick that up, start hiring some people there. And then, somebody there has got something in the Tri-Cities. Okay. And then from the Tri-Cities to Yakima, then from Yakima to Hermiston to and then Boise, and then it's all over the place, and it starts to spread. And the biggest thing where we're at is you can't be complacent with where you're at. You have to be able to expand and grow. And we've been able to do that. And as soon as, it clicked with us with growing and expanding in different areas, it took off like wildfire.
So kind of the word of mouth aspect of getting new clients in new areas, and Eastern Washington, nothing is close to each other.
No.
But word of mouth travels fast for sure. Tell me, because I'm also in the people industry, tell me what kind of tricks you've been using to get people to come work for you in these cities that are not close together.
Sure.
Do you have people that go from one city to another and drive, the 100 miles or whatever, or are you picking them up in cities?
Yeah, it's a little bit of everything. And like you said, nothing's close to each other in Eastern Washington. And yeah, I can just tell you, we've purchased a lot of brand new vehicles. And, for instance, we have a 2021 RAV4, and I think we just hit over 135,000 miles on it. So it tells you we get a lot of windshield time with what we do. But yeah, there's a lot of drive, from our main office with our specialty services crew that takes care of all the floor work, final construction, cleaning, pressure washing, and things like that. But with the areas here, it's focused on agriculture. That's what Eastern Washington is known for: apples and cherries and everything like that. And so we've targeted going after employees that work in agriculture. The thing with agriculture is it's a set season, spring to late summer, maybe into early fall, but it's not year round. And so we've targeted a lot of those workers and said, why work somewhere that's just seasonal when you can work with us year round, and we'll be competitive with what we're paying as well. And then that just kind of falls back into company culture too. Once you get them in, how can you keep them in, and how can you get them to be your word of mouth, have them tell their family, their friends, their other coworkers that they had before. And we've been able to spiral off of that. One of the big things we've done, especially in Eastern Oregon, is it's tough to find workers down there, primarily Spanish speaking, and I don't speak Spanish, so it's difficult for me. So, we went old school. We put up a billboard, and, Les Schwab had this billboard for about 20 years, and they decided to go a different route with their marketing. And so the billboard representative said, hey, I've got this. It's in a perfect spot if you're interested. And I said, yeah, let's give it a shot for, a couple months. And he said, no, this is a high profile. You got to, commit to for a year. I said, okay. So we put our logo on it, and we put it in English and Spanish that we're hiring full time with benefits. And lo and behold, I mean, we were getting people out of the woodwork just applying like crazy. And to this day, just from billboards, we get at least, 8 to 10 applicants per day coming through. And that's just in that small little Eastern Oregon area.
As we head into break, it's funny you said old school. I wasn't quite sure where you're going with that, but that is very old school, and probably one of the best uses. Monica's in staffing and HR. That's probably one of the best uses of that. Out there. I can't imagine that. So that's very cool. Hey, listen, we got to take a short break to pay the bills, Edwin. We're going to hear from today's spotlight sponsor. When we come back, everyone, with our guest, Edwin Eaton, for our Hot or Not section of the show, we're going to find out what Edwin thinks about reality television shows. Don't walk away. We'll be right back with more of the Shrimp Tank. Do you know where great people go to meet great companies? I do. It's West Sound Workforce. For 25 years, West Sound Workforce has been putting people to work, matching their skills and interests with positions employers are looking to fill right here in our own communities. Specializing in temp to hire, and direct hire placement services, West Sound Workforce is there to help job seekers looking to find their next position or their next career step with no cost. Companies partner with West Sound Workforce to augment their recruitment strategies, whether to cover the shift of a vacationing employee of their own, having extra hands to make a special project happen, or searching for their next new team member. Visit our website at www.westsoundworkforce.com or check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And Monica, I was thinking of billboards as I was reading that ad. For some reason, I was thinking maybe billboards are in your future. I don't know.
They might be. Welcome back to the Shrimp Tank, where we interview the best and brightest CEOs and business thought leaders in the greater Puget Sound area and beyond, like Eastern Washington.
Yeah.
I'm Monica Blackwood. Our guest today is Edwin Eaton for our next segment, Hot or Not.
So Edwin, Monica and I are going to pepper you with questions about business, about life, about janitorial, maybe the Washington Huskies or the Sonics jersey that you have, but I don't know. I'm sure getting the Sonics back would be hot. I think it is for all of us. But at the end, you win absolutely nothing. But we hope you have some fun with it. I mentioned reality television show. You probably know where I'm heading with this, but reality TV show for you, hot or not?
I think right now, hot. I'm watching Mediterranean Below Deck. I don't know why I got stuck on that. I've had a head cold for the last week or so, and I got hit on it.
So I probably didn't make, and maybe Bar Rescue isn't considered a reality TV show or not, but that was the direction I was going, because you have a specific, if I can spit that out, tie to Bar Rescue, right?
We do, yeah. We were doing a final construction cleaning in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. We're going a little bit further east here, but and we did a job. And later that day, I went back. It was a restaurant. And I went back to have dinner, have a couple drinks, and there were a couple guys sitting at the bar there, and they saw the iPro logo, and they were wondering who I was working for and what I was doing. I kind of explained it to them, and they told me they were producers for the show Bar Rescue, and got to talking with them. We had a couple drinks, gave them my card, and they said, well, if you clean this bar looks great. We got an opportunity down in the Las Vegas area. Would you be interested? I'm like, I'm never going to say no. And even though I didn't have anybody down there, I said, sure, we can do that for you. Send me the info. So they sent me some info. We filled out some paperwork, and about 2 weeks later, they gave me a call and said, hey, we got 2 bars that we're doing. We want you to do the cleanups. You'll be on national TV. So we did that, and that spiraled to a couple more in Reno, and it got iPro national exposure on their TV show.
Wow, Edwin, I think you have some pretty diverse marketing tactics between billboard outside of Hermiston and national exposure with Bar Rescue. That's pretty amazing. So tell me, hot or not, having a business plan, and do you include things like billboards and reality TVs in it?
Hot, yes. I didn't have a business plan in the beginning, but with the consulting side, that's what I tell all of my clients now is you got to have it put in place. And those are things that I've added on there, having the billboards and thinking outside of the box is the biggest thing, and social media and things like that. So absolutely.
That's great. And that you just said something that intrigues me. Tell me a little bit more. What's the consulting side? What does that mean?
Well, so when I got started in the industry, I didn't know a lot about the industry. I got into it because of my college roommate's uncle. And actually, before I started iPro, when I moved back to Wenatchee, my college roommate's uncle said, "Why don't you come on board and work with us?" Again, Wenatchee's not big, but he says, "I have enough money that I can support you on a salary for 1 month. And in that month, you have to make your money back. And then if you can, then let's continue to do this." And so he kind of threw me to the wolves, no training whatsoever, just said, "Here you go for it." And I did it, YouTube videos and, just asking friends and family. And amazingly enough, I made my money back and then some. And he said, "Let's just continue." And we continued with it to grow. Eventually we butted heads and we parted ways. And that's how I started iPro. But he just threw me to the wolves and said, "Learn it." And so the consulting side of things, I looked at it as, as new cleaning business owners come into the realm, they don't know what to do. And so with the experience that I have, granted it's 10 years, but I've kind of learned from the start to where I'm at now, what works, what doesn't work, what failures I've had, and I've passed that along to them. And really the biggest thing that I've learned from a lot of the clients is they don't know how to bid. And a quick story, for instance, in the janitorial industry is you've got the big national companies, then you got the regional companies, and then the mom and pops. And I'm kind of in the middle. We're 150 employees. We're not nationwide. We're in the Pacific Northwest. But we went to a bid. I think it was for a dam that we had in the area. And they basically said, for 1 year, this contract's going to be $840,000. Okay. So when we go in, the big national company bid it at $839,000. I bid it at $837,000. And the incumbent who had it for 10 years, small mom and pop, she bid it at $250,000. So she left all that money on the table. So they took the lowest bid. The mom and pop company got it. And the next year it came up for bid again because she couldn't take care of it for $250,000. But the next year it came up at $300,000. And so long story short, nobody's taken on that account. It's been the same person because it's been under bid. And that's the biggest thing is it just kind of, it takes the market out of whack. And so I'm just trying to educate all the new business owners on how to be competitive and how to bid properly. I mean, there's no magic sauce to it. You just have to be able to bid similar to what the big dogs are doing to be competitive in this market and keep your business doors open.
So that's fascinating. So, and so you're primarily, Edwin, consulting people in your industry. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes.
So I think it's fascinating in that, as you said, there's nothing special, but there is some art and science to it. And I'm assuming a lot of failures along the way, failures in bidding that you've experienced, that you've had to kind of go through and learn and all of that. What I guess what my question is, I'm trying to spit something out, but my question is how long did it take you? I mean, you've been doing it 10 years. How long did it take you to say, I really feel good? We've got a system in place. Obviously you're not, I don't know if I shouldn't say obviously, are you doing all the bidding? You must have some folks who are also doing that, who you've had to train internally. Talk about that process and how long did it take you to get to that point? Because I think it has to be most critical in your growth.
Oh, it's very critical. And, it used to be a whole notepad filled out of just all these numbers and just trying to figure out what to do. And there's all these old ways of you bid based on square footage, you bid based on hours. And, it can get confusing and it's a daunting task for a lot of new business owners that get into this industry and they just don't know how to bid it. And that's why you see there's thousands of cleaning company business owners that, sign up every single month. But every single month, there's thousands of them that go out of business because they just don't know what to do. And so I realized I was done with going through notepads of trying to figure out bids that, I'm not a techie guy whatsoever, but I figured out how to master Excel to some point and put together a calculator that I had in my head and I wanted to put it out somewhere. So I put together an Excel bidding calculator where you just put in basic information And just like that, you can spit out a bid. And so, with my sales team, it's nice. They can put together a bid that back in the day would take me 2 or 3 days. They can do it in about, less than 3 minutes and have a legit number that's going to be competitive for the market.
So between all of your lessons learned in the last 10 years that you're sharing for your bidding and all of that, CEO peer groups, have you been involved in any one of those? And what kind of lessons are you gleaning from other CEOs when you're talking to them or consulting with them, maybe about something that's a little bit different than how to bid on janitorial services?
Yeah, I look at it as you got to get with the right crowd, and that's kind of what I did as you start to progress in the industry. Is other people, people in the hospitality industry, like my old general manager and things like that I've leaned on. And what I've done actually is I've tried to share that with my management crew as well. And so I do things a little bit differently. We do our once a week manager meetings. And a lot of times they'll get tired of hearing me talk. And so I'll bring on special guests, and it'll be people that are in the industry. And it'll be people like my hotel general manager. It'll just be an array of different people that'll come in and speak to us. And so I'm trying to learn. I'm still learning every day, but I also want my staff to learn. And we actually just hired a leadership coach as well, somebody that's local here. And so the first one was a huge 4-hour session. And I was a little skeptical, but it worked out where he came in, talked to us for about 4 hours. We learned a lot, and then we just continue. We have questions, we ask him, and they get answered. And it's been great for all of us to learn.
That's fantastic. Cultures of learning are wonderful, and being in HR, that's all about learning, right? Follow-up question also on your answer was that Excel formula that you put together, or spreadsheet or whatever, that now is 3 minutes or less for your sales team to be able to do something. Does that lead into your software release or anything, or is that something different?
No, 100%. It does. Yeah. I mean, again, back to the consulting side, a lot of the new business owners, they don't know how to bid. And so that's the first step. And the next one is, do they know how to put together a proposal? Do they know how to put together what we call a scope of work? And that's when our crews come in, what are they doing in each specific area in these client locations? And so our software system tries to make it simple. You're just entering a few of the main information, and it's going to put everything's pre-made for you. It's just populating some of the stuff that you put in there. And so it's funny, we were trying to come up with a name for it because it's simple is what we're trying to do. And we're back and forth trying to come up with a name. My wife actually came up with it, and she said, well, just call it Cinch. Cinch is kind of simple too, in a way. And so that's what we named it, Cinch Janitorial Software. But basically, if you're a new janitorial business owner, it just takes you step by step. You'll come up with the number to charge the client. It'll put together a professional proposal. It'll put together the scope of work. It'll do inspections. It's got a schedule that's on there as well. And it's got a CRM system that we're putting together as well.
I see you almost more entrepreneurial than the CEO of a janitorial service. There's a lot of, a serial entrepreneur. I'm feeling with you. One of the questions I have, and it's interesting because you mentioned the 3 different sizes of janitorial services. Obviously, the software can be sold anywhere. Sounds like probably at least in the North America, if not around the world. Is there enough business for the mom and pops today? Is that still a viable option for a smaller company, maybe saying 40, 50 employees? Is there still work out there for them?
There is. And, within this janitorial industry, the biggest thing is the big national companies are trying to take over everything. And so, myself, and there's a few other people that I follow, especially on LinkedIn, that are in the cleaning industry that are trying to shake it up a little bit and make it make it fair and competitive. You get a lot of these big box stores, let's say, and every single one of them is protected by a national company. And it's somebody that's in New York just sitting at a desk that has never cleaned before. And so what we're trying to do is to level the playing field for these smaller companies that are getting into it. So again, when they bid, they're bidding, competitively with the big dogs, and so that their proposals are looking professional, so that they may be a small company, but when they present the proposal to the potential client, they look professional and they look like they're a big business.
So, kind of going to that a little bit with the folks sitting in New York and putting bids together for places we're seeing in Eastern Washington, and your focus, it sounds like, primarily has been on private commercial, some large companies and some smaller companies, but you've had a little bit of kind of government work with the dams and all of that. Do you look at military at all? Because I know that Eastern Washington has some substantial military installations as well. Have you touched on that at all?
We do. The biggest thing right now is a lot of the government and city entities. They're under what they call prevailing wage, and prevailing wage is pretty much set as to what minimum wage is, maybe a few cents higher than that. And the problem today, especially with retention, is we pay our employees a lot higher than what minimum wage is, and that's to get good people in. And so a lot of those accounts we pass up just the fact that it's prevailing wage, and I don't want to lose money. And so we look at other directions, and that's where the data centers come in. And they're willing to pay top dollar because they want the best services possible. And so there's a lot of those companies out there that are willing to pay more for the cleaning services, especially since the pandemic hit. Whether you believed it or not, there's still something out there, and people want the customers coming in. People want their employees coming back to work. And so there's an emphasis on cleaning now. And so that kind of put us in the limelight. And there's other things that we can do with UVC ultra light cleaning that we've added. People love that. That's what they use in the hospitals. And so we started, implementing that. Electrostatic sprayers when the pandemic hit. It's like, okay, a lot of people gave up on it after the pandemic, but there's still cold and flu season that's going around, especially in, the educational systems. And so these places need to be clean. They need to be disinfected, sanitized. And so we're pushing those things out. So there's other services that are out there opposed to just janitorial that we've been able to get into and build some contracts and a lot of clients that way as well.
Monica, it's actually amazing, as we're talking to Edwin here, how far in the rearview mirror, even though, there's stuff out there still, but if we had been talking about janitorial services in 2021, we would have led probably with the whole aspect of cleanliness and getting people back to work safely. And it's amazing. We're like 2/3 of the way through this, and we finally started talking about it. But I think that's really amazing what you're doing there. So what isn't amazing is we got to take another break, and we're going to take that short break to hear from our corporate sponsors. And when we come back with our guest, Edwin Eaton, for our Plead the Fifth section of the show, we're going to ask Edwin how he might treat himself on a special day. Don't walk away. We'll be right back with more of the Shrimp Tank. And Plead the Fifth is brought to you by our corporate sponsors, Ideal Life 360, Cornerstone Financial, First Underwriters Insurance, BC Fitness Studio, Port Ludlow Resort, and Upstart Group. Please visit our website at shrimptankpodcast.com/Seattle to learn more about these terrific companies. Now back to the show.
Welcome back to the Shrimp Tank, where we interview the best and brightest CEOs and business thought leaders in the greater Puget Sound area and beyond. I'm co-host Monica Blackwood, and our guest today is Edwin Eaton. For our next segment, Plead the Fifth.
All right, Edwin. I don't know if you have ever watched Parks and Recreation, but they have Treat Yourself Day. I don't know if that rings a bell or not, but
Yes,
let's just say Monica and I walk up to your house one day and say, Edwin, you can treat yourself today. You can do whatever you want. Money's not an object. Location's not an object. It's your day. How is Edwin going to treat himself that day?
Well, if you can see behind me, I got a bunch of sports memorabilia. So I'm a big sports buff. And so I just started this recently with a good buddy of mine. We love to travel to other stadiums, other sports stadiums. So we started doing it with the Huskies. And so I would say, send me somewhere to go watch the Dogs play, right? Send me to an away game somewhere.
Or you got to pick the place. Come on now. Where's the place you haven't been that's on your list?
Well, Huskies are what, in the Big Ten?
Where I don't care, wherever you want. I'm not going to put limitations on you.
Wow, that's okay. I would say probably the Big House in Michigan or the Horseshoe in Ohio State. I'd love to go to one of those stadiums.
All right.
And I'd just like to ask why you're limiting yourself to a stadium, because you could go watch the men's IRA in London or whatever.
Or the Masters. I know you're a golfer too.
I am, yes, yeah. I love football. And just to get to one of those stadiums would be awesome. I'm easy.
Fantastic. Thinking back, you've been in this for 10 years, and you had some time in the industry before that. Going back to your 18-year-old self at the UW with your roommate and your potential and your future new boss, who was the uncle of your roommate and whatnot, what would you tell yourself? What have you learned now? What would you say? Hey, don't do this, whatever. What would you say?
Honestly, I don't think I would change anything, because I wouldn't be where I'm at right now. I think I would just say, just get ready for a rough road ahead and be ready to fall down. You're going to trip, you're going to fall on your face, but you got to get yourself right back up. And it's the only way to learn. And, I have a 21-year-old son, and I kind of use that same mentality with him. I said, I'm not going to hold your hand through this. I had to learn, and I want you to learn, and I'll step in and tell you when things need to change. But yeah, if I was to see my 18-year-old self, I would just tell myself to, just hold on and get ready for this cool ride that you're about to get on.
Awesome.
So speaking of cool ride, you've been 10 years now. 2013, you started your own. You started iPro. What's the biggest surprise to you as you look back on a decade? What surprises you the most?
Gosh, I think I've seen everything in this industry. I mean, it's always ever changing. But I think, it's just the way that the culture of the workers have changed over the years, and it's not to say that it's become more difficult, but it used to be as easy as putting an ad out on Craigslist or something, and you'd get 10, 20, 30 applicants right off there, and you get that many people to choose from. And now you get an ad out, and you'll maybe get 2 or 3, and out of those 2 or 3, hopefully one of them will show up. So that's been really tough to navigate and figure out. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of the toughest thing that I've seen so far in this industry.
So I'm curious, based on that, and I totally agree. Being a staffing company, finding people and where they're at and getting them to come to work and do the jobs that we have available is super tough. Do you use social media? Do you have a TikTok account? Do you do some really fun cleaning tips with on TikTok or YouTube or whatnot?
TikTok's been amazing for my consulting side. It's crazy. I've gotten a lot of business from there. But for the iPro side of things, if you guys visit any of our social media, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, we're all about our employees. And so, back to the company culture thing, we used to do employee of the month. And, everybody does that. And it's a great thing. You get a certificate or a plaque, and you get a gift card, whatever. It's all great. But what I saw is employees in different areas were getting mad. Like, why did that person get employee of the month? Or, but I did this, I did that. And then it seemed like almost 60% of the employees that would get the employee of the month, they'd be gone the next month. They'd quit. So what's going on? So I thought, it's like, well, what would be something that the employees couldn't get mad at each other about, and that would still create, something fun, and the employees would appreciate what we're doing for them. And so, a light switch kind of went off, and I said, let's celebrate anniversaries, employee anniversaries. They can't get mad that this person's been here for 3 years, right? And so we slowly started to do it. You get a plaque, and you get a gift card, and then we started to do like actual celebrations. We would do something in secret, and we would surprise them as they would come in. And so we started filming those videos, and posting those on our social media, and then taking pictures and posting that on social media. And we have like this Instagram picture frame cut out, and now when they it's their anniversary, they get to hold it and they take their picture in there. I had a regional manager just recently. She's been with us for 6 years, and she always knows when it's her anniversary, and so it's hard to surprise her now. But we had a meeting down in Oregon, and she knew that she was part of the meeting, and so she was just coming in at normal time. I had the staff come in an hour earlier, and when she came in with the whole staff, we just completely surprised her, and she was just blown away that we went that extra mile to do that. And so we're just thinking outside of the box and doing things differently. And so we don't even talk about a lot of our services anymore. It's all about our people. And crazy enough, we've gotten a lot of business based on our social media because we, praise our employees and we appreciate our employees. And that just goes back to, without the employees, you're not going to have a business. And so we really hold that, as the highest thing with us, is that we want to make sure everybody's appreciated that works for us.
And it sounds like so much fun. That's great. And the employees, a lot of camaraderie, and you mentioned you love football, a lot of teamwork there, and love for one another. So listen, I'm gonna ask you another plead the fifth here. It's been said that we can all be our own worst critics. Plead the fifth, Edwin. Share with us something that you today still struggle with from a leadership perspective.
Yeah, sometimes I don't let things go and I let it fester within me. And it's just one of those things that I've had to learn and to let go of a lot of stuff that I take care of currently. And, we hire people, there's that saying that you hire people smarter than you to take on jobs that you don't like to do. And I've slowly done that. And it's hard for me to kind of let go of that, but I'm starting to get the right people in place, and I'm starting to let that go slowly. But I battle with myself trying to just say, okay, this person can take care of it. Just trust them to do it. And, the big thing with me is I always hated going on vacation, as weird as that sounds, because I just knew that I was going to be working while I was on vacation. But just now, over the last couple of years, with the right people in place and letting go of some of that stuff, vacation has been a little bit more fun for me now.
That's great. We've done a lot of talking about people and people first mentality and hiring for the right fit, hiring people that are smarter than you, so that you can let go and all of that. Tell me, we meet people all of the time. We meet them at a dinner party and we don't know them. How do you start a conversation with them, a genuine conversation?
Yeah, I mean, I walk into a place where I don't know anybody. I'll just walk up to them and just introduce myself. Like, hey, how are you? Or, I'll compliment them on something, and then we'll start a conversation. And the funny thing is, they'll always ask me what I do for a living. That's usually the first thing. And I always tell them I'm a janitor, and it's like an icebreaker. They laugh. They're like, what, a janitor? Seriously? And then we'll start talking about it. And, it's funny because my neighbor's a dentist, and the first time, when he moved in and we met each other, he's like, oh, well, nice house. What do you do? Said, I'm a janitor. He's just, what? A janitor? What are they paying janitors these days? But it's just an icebreaker. I'll just go and introduce myself, and then we'll start a conversation,
That's great. Edwin, thank you so much for being a guest here on our Shrimp Tank. For listeners who want to get in touch with you or learn more about your company, how do they get more information?
Yeah, like I said before, all of our social medias, our website, it's a little bit different. It's worryfree.cleaning. There's no .com there. It's just worryfree.cleaning. Okay,
great. Make sure you check out all of the replays on shrimptankpodcast.com/Seattle and wherever you get your podcasts. iHeart, Apple, Google, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Spotify, all of those you can find us. Please follow us on our show's social media pages on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram.
Well, Edwin, you sure cleaned up today. I had to say that. I know that's like the lamest dad joke type, but you cleaned up today. Everything went perfectly. We really enjoyed having you on the show, learning more about you. Best wishes moving forward, and we're gonna keep in touch and see how you continue to grow. Monica, As always, a pleasure seeing you. Look forward to
Great
next
chat.
month. I'll probably see you before then, but look forward to seeing you. Everybody, thanks for joining us. Make sure you do exactly what Monica said. Like us on our Facebook page. We live stream there every Wednesday at noon Pacific time. Our next show will be on Wednesday, September 27th. Our guest will be Matt Hines from Hines Marketing. Michelle Bomberger will be my co-host that week. In the meantime, be safe, be well, be prosperous, because until next week, the shrimp is back in the tank. So long.
I've been feeling like a shark in a shrimp tank. Big fish, small pond in the shrimp